What if I were to tell you that the most underpaid CEO in the world is wearing leggings, meal prepping, and running a household empire? All for free. Let's talk about why stay at home moms are the hidden MVPs of the economy and how to turn that invisible labor into real power. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Balance Muse. And here we talk about wealth, wisdom, and creating a greater sense of well-being. Today's subject has been in the news as of late as women are considering more about what their options are in the world of work. And many women, many young women are choosing especially to say, hey, I don't want to go out into the corporate world. I want to return to the home. I want to become a stay-at-home mom. I want to be called or known as what is a traditional wife. And it's kind of like a backlash that's been happening to the movement that was going towards women working outside the home, almost like a backlash against the boss babe type movement or girl boss type movement. Women who were going into the corporate world, they were saying, hey, we can do this just as well as a man. We can work hard. We're smart. We can run businesses just as well, if not better, than men can. And there was a big move towards women of the millennial age, of some Gen Z age, to go towards that. However, because the economy has become very, very difficult for many to navigate, as inflation goes higher, as jobs are being quickly taken away or opportunities become more scarce, the competition is very fierce for everyone. And more so for women than it has been in a very long time. So many women are deciding, you know what, I don't want to go out and fight with other people for a job that may or may not be there later on, or they're just finding that they're not having as many opportunities as they used to. So they're saying, hey, I want to go back to being a traditional mom, work from home mom, or even just going back to saying, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. And it's maybe due to the fact that there has been a lot of promotion on social media from content creators and influencers that stay-at-home mom is nice and airy. They romanticize it with, children perfectly behaved, running through fields with their matching outfits, and women are able to carry the baby while they nicely put clothes on a hanger or on a clothes hanger outside, drying their clothes in the sunshine, making their own meals, lightly prepping for their meals, and everything is just effortless, which we all know, or those of us who have worked in domestic labor know, that is absolutely not the case. And I'm thinking that there seems to be a debate going on what women think their choices should be, where their value can best be placed, where their skills can best be placed. And I think I have somewhat of a solution and maybe even a compromise, considering that the world of work, the way we prove our value to the world or to other people, is changing, it's shifting. And I see an opportunity for those who traditionally have been shut out of the workplace or just didn't have access to it because women historically had not had access to their own bank accounts, were not able to even get any kind of loans without having a man, either a husband or a brother, someone sign for it. But I think I see somewhere where there can be a happy medium, and it has to do with the role of being a stay-at-home mom and being a caregiver, which I think is going to be interesting. So let me open up my slides here and I'll tell you what I'm thinking or what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first thing that we see here, the problem is that stay-at-home mom work is undervalued. Why is nurturing unpaid when it's the foundation of everything? So I don't know if you have ever heard of the quote, the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. It comes from a poem. I'm not sure, I can't remember who the author is, but that's a phrase. And it shows how much power is given to the mother who has the first and the foundational role in helping to shape and to develop this child, not only from in the womb, but also after. She is the first one to hold it, to care for it, to give it discipline, to make sure that it is raised in a way that it is healthy and growing and productive. And she has the majority of those caregiving duties in the beginning. So why is that so undervalued? If shaping that child, you're shaping who that child will become later. And the bullet points that I have here. Society forgets that moms add value to the family business, as in marriage back in the day was a business arrangement. It was between families who wanted to come together to make sure that they kept their resources within their family. They wanted to make sure that they passed down those resources and that wealth for generations. They also wanted to, perhaps if it were between countries, they wanted to have better relations between countries and make allies with those countries. This notion of romantic love as the basis of a marriage is very recent, and in my opinion, is not the best way to look at it first as a priority. It's not that it shouldn't be there. There most certainly should be love in there. But I think maybe thinking about the history of what marriage was built upon, I think it behooves everyone to do that. Okay, stay-at-home mom is a stay-at-home mom. She's undervalued professional household manager. So I've done several jobs in the domestic labor industry. So I've been a caregiver or nanny. I've been a senior caregiver. I've also worked as a house cleaner. And all of these things are not usually paid as well as they should be according to what your value is, so what the market rate is. And the thing about it is women take on the majority of the domestic labor, whether they are working inside or outside of the home. So this work is undervalued. And I think it's because women themselves don't necessarily know how to value it, and they often undervalue what they are able to do because they put it under the guise of love or mother's love. And I think one of the best ways to see how we can balance, or we can bring better ease and softness to our lives as women, is to reframe the way that we think about the work. The first bullet points here is to start thinking of motherhood as professional training, not just a labor of love. So what I had mentioned before, as in all these duties under domestic labor type industries, the cooking, meal prepping, the cleaning of the household, the caring for the children, oftentimes, but not always, caring for the financial account, seeing what money is going in and going out, also scheduling. These are all separate jobs put under one headline. So with meal prep, that's chef work, which I have done. Caring for the children, that's nanny or caregiver work, which I have done. Cleaning the household, which is a house cleaner, and I have done that. Doing the scheduling for making travel arrangements, also preparing events for special events, doing all that planning. That's PR work. That's also special event planning. That's also executive assistant, which I have done. I've done various things in these skills in separate roles, but I was paid for these roles. And most of the time, when a stay-at-home mom is doing this, it's often done without anything, definitely not a paycheck. And so therefore it goes invisible and it's undervalued. She may get a thank you, but a lot of these times these women are overworked. It's just expected of them because they're a woman and because that traditionally has fallen on the woman to do most of the time. Okay, so my suggestion, as someone who has worked in these roles as domestic labor and who is also a woman, is to translate these skills into business language. The bonus here is to use AI tools to draft resumes using your transferable skills and calculate your labor value. That means dollars, that means data, into money. So that means groceries saved, how much percentage of money that you brought in income from maybe a side hustle, how much you saved in dollars or thousands, clipping groceries, going to Walmart or Aldi instead of going to Whole Foods, which I love both those places, but hey, money costs things. So making good economic decisions, these are a skill and a valuable skill. These are skills that businesses work for because it's part of accounting, and every business needs accounting. The next thing is to look at, if you are a young woman, or not even necessarily a young woman, but some opportunities are only available for young women, but as a young woman before babies. Okay, so be a professional nurturer before having children. For child-free women, work as a nanny or a au pair. So with an au pair, that is just an international nanny, for lack of a better term. So you get to travel to different places, or if you're traveling or studying in a different country, working as an au pair for a family, you're being paid. Sometimes you have living or room and board paid for you, as well as in addition to like a stipend or a salary. So you'll learn how to set better boundaries with an employer or with a potential partner. You'll understand emotional labor. You'll understand how much bandwidth that you'll be able to negotiate household dynamics, because you're going to be doing it for an employer or for your client first before you bring it into your own home. And then you'll also get professional references the whole time as you hone your skills, as you become an expert in your craft. I definitely want to get back to the understanding of emotional labor bullet point. If I had not had the opportunity, or if I had not taken or chosen the opportunity to become a professional nurturer, I had as an experience that I had in a daycare, then I would not know what my limits would be. I also wouldn't know how much corporations or sometimes clients might push what I'm capable of doing and keeping a sense of balance and well-being. A lot of stay-at-home moms do not have that choice. They are on 24/7. The responsibility falls on them for various reasons, because it's expected of them traditionally, and many times they just feel that they're supposed to do it, and they may not know how much they've been stretched to the point of breaking. They're tired, they're overworked, and they're undervalued. If I had not had the experience to say, okay, I can't take on more than 3 children at a time without losing my sense of self, without losing my sense of well-being, without being stressed out, then if I didn't know that and test that and see, okay, this is how much I can do, then if I had had children before knowing that, that might not have been a good thing if I didn't even take it on as a professional job. And I know you're saying, okay, that's great for people who don't have any babies yet, who aren't married yet, without children. What about the stay-at-home moms who are already here? I think I can help. So for the ones who are already stay-at-home moms now, it's time to renegotiate, especially if you're at your limit, you're at your wit's end. You feel like you are undervalued, underthanked. I don't want to put more on your plate, because I know that some people are already at capacity, but now is the best time, while wealth is fluctuating, while we're having a wealth transfer, while many people are having to reconsider what their job paths and career paths are going to be because of the implementation of AI and eventually robotics. For those who have skills that are more in the manual labor type fields, so welding and trades work and nursing and those kind of things, caregiving is a wonderful skill, an honorable skill. Some people have a natural bent towards that skill. It's just that, in my opinion, in my experience, many people who are caregivers do not know how to value their skills, or they haven't had enough work in the private sector to be able to say, okay, how do I turn what I have as this skill that I do? Maybe I'm balancing the family budget. How do I translate that into a business skill, which is accounting, which is a financial executive assistant, which I was, So you got to renegotiate. You got to put it into numbers And those numbers equal leverage. That's for all businesses. So translate your invisible labor into business metrics. For example, I save $12,000 per year in childcare and $6,000 per year in meal prep by doing it myself. And use those metrics to renegotiate your role in the partnership. So that means asking for shared or separate savings accounts, more equity in division of chores, that kind of thing. Here's the thing where I went to AI and I said, okay, how would one translate these particular skills that a stay-at-home mom typically does, what would that equal in the business world? So AI came up with these particular things. So say you're coordinating school drop-offs, meals, extracurriculars, and household schedules. This would be called operations management or logistics. So you're planning, you're optimizing, you're executing time-sensitive tasks with multiple stakeholders. That means the kids and the calendar and that kind of thing. So if you are managing the family budget and the grocery list, this is financial planning and procurement in the business world. You track expenses, you allocate resources, you cut waste, and you find the best value deals. These are key traits in finance and procurement roles. If you are soothing toddler tantrums, and you're mediating sibling fights, this is conflict resolution and emotional intelligence in the business world. Okay, this is strictly HR. I had a little stint in HR. So you're managing high stress personalities and maintaining harmony under pressure. For the ones doing meal prep, packing the bags, planning the birthday parties, this is project management, and it's also event coordination. So this is special events. This is a little bit of PR too, because we worked in PR, and we did have to put on special events sometimes. So you scope, plan, delegate, or solo execute and deliver on time and on budget. For teaching the kids their ABCs, helping with their homework, this is education, and this is training and development. You are actively shaping learning outcomes. That's corporate L&D in action. Okay, for learning and development in action. Okay, so for keeping the household running during chaos, that means illnesses and moving and holidays. This is crisis management and risk mitigation. You anticipate and respond to high stakes while keeping the system intact. This is the way to think about it, thinking about it in new ways. So you're going to negotiate whether you are already married and with children or if you're not. Okay, so you will either focus on your potential employer. You're going to negotiate what your boundaries are, what your salary rate will be, what kind of schedule you're going to have, that kind of thing with your potential employer if you do not have children. And then if you're already in a marriage in partnership with children, then you also need to negotiate bringing logic and facts into it. This is a kitchen table discussion, but if you consider yourself as CEO of the household, and I encourage you to do that because that's kind of what you are, then you're going to have to negotiate, or you're going to have to want to negotiate with your partner. If the negotiation fails, then adjust your long-term plans accordingly. I'm not going to say what that means. I'm just going to leave that there for you to figure it out. Okay, so the key takeaway is motherhood isn't free labor. It's foundational labor. Unpaid doesn't mean unskilled, and invisible doesn't mean unimportant. You must value yourself or no one else will. All right? From woman to woman, from caregiver to caregiver, that's what I leave with you today. So that's all I wanted to talk about. I really love to hear if you have any particular ideas of what you believe for women who are entering the workforce or entering the workforce in whatever capacity. Where do you see the future of women's labor going? I'd really like to know. And if you had any ideas of other things you could think where you can come to a happy compromise that brings better balance, that honors the feminine, and that helps women to thrive. I always want to know that. So until next time, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.